What's up, horror fam?
You know what time it is.
Today we got a special guest. Let's get into this.
Yeah, well, hey, I screwed that up. Why should today be any different? That's all right. We'll just go. So, yeah, like Ryan said, we got a special guest in the house today. Please welcome back Mr. D.A. Roberts. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, anytime.
I see the restraining order didn't take.
No. No, that's because I wouldn't answer the door.
Like they say, it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah. For sure, sure.
So, yeah, guys, we have Mr. D.A. Roberts in the house with us tonight. We usually do a little business for him, but I think we're going to skip that for this one and just get into the conversation here.
Just get into the nitty-gritty here.
For those of you who don't know, D.A. has been on here before. If you haven't peeped that episode, go back, check it out. It's a good one. He's an author, retired police, or still working, I guess, technically in some terms. So, yeah, he's got a lot of cool stories. His books are pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of good things. So I'm sure you're probably going to see him multiple times on this podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet.
He's just a fun guy to talk to, you guys, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this episode.
So what have you been up to, sir?
Writing, mostly.
Oh,
good.
Right on. Anything in particular that you want to that you were writing about, if you can tell us?
Well, the last I released a book since the last time I was on. The last book I released was called the sequel to Lakeview Man. It's the Lakeview Man First Duty. It's about a secondary character picking up where the primary character left off, and it's doing fairly well. The ratings are holding pretty.
Oh, we froze up a little bit.
The reviews are coming in well, so I like that.
Did
I fade out?
No,
yeah, just for a second.
Froze up
You're
for
good.
A second, but
it's good. We can
back.
still hear you. You just kind of look
Okay.
like you were frozen.
Well, with a face like mine, it probably didn't matter.
Look, don't move.
I was like,
hey, if we stop moving long enough, maybe it'll fuck with me.
just do the deer in the headlights.
I had a raccoon one time do a little dance in front of me.
That's what the squirrels do. Squirrels like, do I want to live? Do I want to die? Do I want to live? I feel like I'm going to die. Yeah. They run straight back out in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
One night I was out on patrol. This has been a couple years back. And I was driving around. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. There's nothing going on. So I pull over and just park at the side of the road, figure I'll knock out a report and sit there and just watch a couple of the main intersections. And I look over, and on a side street just a little ways away, there's a cat eating something dead in the road, a piece of roadkill. It might have been a squirrel. I didn't identify. And this cat's just going to town, chewing on it. And I'm watching because it's really like the only thing going on. So I'm just watching this cat eat this piece of roadkill, and I see movement behind the cat. So I look, and I'm thinking about lighting it up with a spotlight. And I'm like, no, that'll scare it off. And I see this huge raccoon come out, and it's like sneaking up real slow, and the cat's eating. It's not paying any attention. And all of a sudden, that raccoon just jumped on that cat and kicked the living hell out of it. Took the roadkill and ran off. I wished I'd been filming it. I was laughing so hard. It was like Animal World gone wild. It was awesome.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Raccoons can fight, and they're dirty fighters.
Trust me, I know. Yeah.
We were trying to catch a cat, and I accidentally caught a raccoon in a live trap, and oh my God. I like to never got that thing out of there.
You got to watch those guys because they basically have hands.
Oh,
they can undo latches and figure shit out. They're smart.
I kept trying to unlatch the cage to let it out, and every time I'd reach to unlatch it, that son of a bitch would lunge at me and bite the cage.
Yeah, they're vicious, dude.
Oh, God.
They are.
And then I'm like, okay, what do I do when I get this thing open? Because it's going to come out of this cage and come right at me.
And not be happy.
This is Sparta.
Luckily, when he came out of the cage, he immediately made a 90-degree turn and went down the hill.
Yeah,
so I was like, whoo.
They want to get away more than anything. They don't like being, they don't like human contact, put it that way.
Yeah.
That's why you rig up like a little pulley where you can pull the string from 30 feet away and it raises the cage.
Yeah,
like they do with bears.
You just stand by with an air rifle in case he comes your way.
We had a customer one time. He had a live trap and he caught a skunk in it.
Yeah.
So what do? You take a blanket out and you throw it over the top of the trap so it doesn't spray you. Well, this dumbass picks up the trap and puts it in the back of his car.
Oh. I bet he never got that smell out of the car.
Well, no, we were working on the car the next day, and it was horrid. Had the whole shop stunk up.
Oh my god!
Oh, it was nasty.
Why would you?
Hey, and it's wildlife with the Horror Chronicles.
Anyways, yeah, let's get into some cool stuff here. So we were kind of talking a little bit before, and you were saying you're a horror movie connoisseur. And, like we said, we actually just recorded an episode earlier on Silver Bullet. I got to say, what's your favorite era of horror movies?
Favorite error?
Era.
I thought you meant error. I was like thinking, what have they screwed up?
Like the biggest screw up in a movie.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Twilight.
Those being written at all. That's
no, your favorite era, like of 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s.
I'm gonna have to go with 70s. Yeah. Because the special effects were schlocky, but they had to rely on the writing. Kind of like the old The Night Stalker with Darren McGavin. That's really what got me into horror in the first place. And I will always liken back to that as being my roots. So I would have to go, that era with the old schlocky Hammer films. And
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you and I are pretty close to the same age. And,
how old are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
How old are you? Huh?
I can't say how old I am.
Well, I'm 50.
Well, I'm 49.
78.
So
there we go.
So we're really close.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm 78 some days. But yeah, I'm with you there, man. I'm really big into the 80s slasher craze. Mm-hmm. But, I grew up on all those old, well, honestly, I grew up on a lot of 50s and 60s horror.
Oh, those were
because
great.
That's what they were showing on TV.
In the mid 80s, from like 1984 to about 1988, I ran the movie projector for the theater in the town I grew up in. Worked in the Star Theater. It's gone. They tore it down now. It was an old landmark. But I ran the projector and ran concessions at that movie theater for years. So I saw a lot of movies, like first run movies from the projector booth, like Christine.
Hell yeah!
Nightmare on Elm Street when that came out. I actually got to ran Christine.
That would be a cool job.
I wish.
It was fun.
I wish
I didn't make any money at it, but it was fun.
Right.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Well, yeah, the cool jobs you don't really make money at.
See, that's what I was going to say, because I moved out of my parents' house when I was like 14, and I had a full-time job, and I did all this. So I had a job because I really need the money. But so I would have loved to have worked in a theater. I had friends. Cool. Lucky for me, I had friends when I was younger who did work in a theater. So
he doesn't have friends anymore, though.
Yes,
pissed them all off.
That's right. You've been in a relationship for 20 years. You don't have friends. But no.
Preaching to the choir.
I had friends that worked in a theater, so they got me in, to see movies, and then we would be able to get cool posters, some of the movie posters and things that were there. So that was cool. But I would have loved to actually work there, like you said, like you did, And
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd imagine. So I gotta say, for me, it's the 80s. But now I grew up. I was born in '86, so but I grew up watching. Well, but it's kind of like you said. You watched the '50s and '60s movies. Right. Because that's what they were playing. So my older brother and sister and my parents, they watched a lot of the 80s stuff, And
when I was young in the mid 70s, there was a TV show. It was based out of one of the stations here in Springfield, and I can't remember which station it was, but every Saturday night they had this guy that would come out in really, really bad vampire makeup. The show was called Tales of Terror, and he would show one of those old 50s, 60s horror films. And I grew up every Saturday night, I'd watch Tales of Terror. Mm-hmm. And I used to tell my older brother, Ronnie, he looked just like the guy with the fake widow's peak, and he used to get pissed off.
Yeah. And I grew up in St. Louis, and in St. Louis every Saturday night, we had what was called Saturday Night Shockers. And they would show Tales from the Dark Side and the Twilight Zone, and then they'd always play a scary movie, late at night. And so, I grew up on stuff like you can see my poster back here, House on Haunted Hills.
Oh yeah, great movies.
And that's the kind of stuff you used to catch on those Black Sunday and, all those old Vincent Price and Boris Karloff movies. And, of course, I was big into the Universal Monsters and stuff like that, But where I really fell in love with horror, it was funny. You mentioned The Night Stalker a while ago, and Ryan and I were talking, and I finally figured out what got me into horror. My mom used to watch The Night Stalker, and I remember she was watching one when I was a little kid, and it had a zombie in it. And I remember
the zombie episode. That was a great.
Yeah.
Sew its mouth together.
Yes, exactly. You had to fill it up with salt and sew it together. I went to bed that night and had a nightmare. I woke up and walked into the living room, and this zombie was sitting on our couch. And ever since then, I was probably 4 or 5 years old whenever I had that. And ever since then, I've just been fascinated with horror and creepy shit and, ghosts and all that stuff.
Yeah.
My mother was a big horror fan, and she's the one that got me to watch The Night Stalker. And she had me when I was, I think, around 10. I can't remember what year it came out, but it was somewhere around 1980, 81 when the Amityville Horror came out.
The original Amityville Horror came out in 78.
Yeah, I remember watching that when it was new.
78, 79, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, that scared the living crap out of me.
Fantastic film. That's
I was terrified I was going to see those eyes outside the window.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
See, that's so weird because, like, it's cool for me, too, because, like, I'm younger than you guys, of course, but...
just a baby.
But I still love and appreciate all the older things, and that's the thing. We kind of talked about it a little bit in our last episode we just did about Silver Bullet, with Silver, like, just put it for instance, Silver Bullet, they really, and you guys would know more than I would because you grew up watching the 50s, 60s, and 70s movies more than I did. But in the 80s, those movies really knew how to work with atmosphere. Yeah. Like the atmosphere part of the movie, like Silver Bullet has a great atmosphere, you could feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and it's like DA said a while ago that, they didn't have like special effects
CGI
and stuff like that to rely on. They had to tell everything,
using music and sound effects and, just building that atmosphere up.
Anytime you've got the sound effects that are on point and you've got the music keyed just right, it really builds the scenes.
Yes.
The music can make or break the entire scene. If you've got the wrong music or the wrong pitch to the music, you don't have your audience on pins and needles. So that's kind of what I try to capture in my writing too. I try to pitch the scenes so I've described just enough of the background and I've got just enough of the characters. So when something happens, you've got all those images swirling in, and that's something I try to do in my writing.
Yeah, build that atmosphere up. Yeah.
I heard an interview one time with Alice Cooper, and Alice Cooper said that he likened his music to a painting by Salvador Dali. He said, "I want people to hear my music and look at it like they would a Salvador Dali picture." He said they'd look at it one time and then have to go back. He says because you'd walk away saying, I think I saw this, I know I saw that, but I've got to go see it again just to be sure.
Yeah.
He says that shotgun rock and roll theory, that philosophy that he put into his music is what I try to put into my writing.
That's cool. That's awesome, man. And that's the thing too, like you drawing people in, perfect example too of one of our favorites and probably one of yours, Halloween, the original.
Oh, great film.
So that part whenever she's walking across, the street from babysitting going to check on her friends, she's walking across the street that all you see the wind blowing. Mm-hmm. You just get that feeling, what I'm saying?
They can feel the chill in the air.
The music kicks in. I mean, I love that stuff, dude. When they build that up like that, and it's so weird to me. I don't know. Maybe you might have an answer for this, but like I talked to JT about it too. We talk about it quite often. But it's weird how something like this can bring people together.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it also makes you feel good. You know what I'm saying? It makes you feel good inside, like that nostalgia, or just it's kind of like I said, everyone likes to be scared.
Exactly.
So to speak. I just find that
even if you don't want to be scared, you still like to be scared.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me. I don't know. I've always wondered if there's like if there's a reason for that, you know.
Well, the literature purists always look down on horror writers like we're just not really part of the club, you know. But horror is a vital genre. I mean, people love to be scared, just like you were saying, and they love stories that make them feel like the world is not quite right. But at the end, you've got to give them that feeling that the evil has been overcome, at least for now. Because if the evil wins, they don't really enjoy that as much. Right. Yeah. So you try to balance that feeling of fear with the feeling of elation of success. Yeah. And that's a thin wire to walk.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. See, that's like, with Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they go right back. Part 2 goes right into, you know, where part 1 ended.
You know, it's funny, you talk about the literary greats, you know, looking down on horror writers and stuff. We just did a really good episode about Harry Price and the Borley Rectory. And one of the things that I ran across was there used to be a club called the Ghost Club. Charles Dickens was one of the founding members of that club.
Really?
And what they did is that it was a bunch of guys that would get together and they would talk about ghost stories and different kind of creepy paranormal stuff.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff. That's another thing that's cool about doing what we do. You know, we kind of like with, you know, police officers, we have to investigate things. So we go in and we start looking at the history of things, and you've learned some stuff like, holy crap, like he said, with like the whole Ghost Club thing, you know.
Right.
So
that kind of blew my mind because you know, you wouldn't think of Charles Dick. Well, I don't know. I guess you kind of would, you know, if you look at A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
You know, I guess
horror
you can
story.
see him, you know, being into ghosts and stuff like that.
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead, buddy.
I read a while back that back before Stephen King was injured, because, you know, remember when he got hit by that when he was walking on the road, a driver hit him, almost killed him.
Yeah.
His writing actually changed quite a bit after that. Yep. But before that happened, when he was still up in Mobile, every year in his hometown in Maine, on Halloween, he would have a big festival on the grounds of his house, like have a bonfire, and people would come from all over town, and he would sit and tell ghost stories. And I told my wife, if I was ever successful enough in my writing where I could do something like that, that's something I would love to do on Halloween. You know, set it up, get local sponsors, you know, have somebody come in, you know, to do vending and stuff like that, and just sit and tell ghost stories over the fire. And I just think that would be the best. You know, give the kids trick or treat, have candy, have plenty of candy, but just have a place where people could go and experience that horror all together.
See, and that's
a big projector set up with a movie. And
that's so funny because that's kind of what we do at our house every year.
That's awesome.
Halloween. You know, it's funny. I've got several books that are geared towards kids, you know, and that was always my goal, was to be able to sit outside by the bonfire and read these kids' ghost stories as they come by for trick or treating. Now awesome. I just let my yard do it. You know, we completely creep out the whole, you know, front of the house and all down the driveway. Basically, when people come to my house to trick or treat, my driveway is probably, I don't know, 1/8 of a mile, maybe not quite that long, but they actually have to drive through a cemetery to get to my house.
Nice.
It's a cemetery I put out there.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've got skeletons and coffins and tombstones all over the place. And, you know, we're not into the gore or anything. We just want it to be creepy.
Well, yeah. And see, what's cool about this too is the fact that, like, with what we're doing with this podcast, is not only are we like talking about things that we love, but we also get to make connections with people like you and like with the directors that we've known and actors and things like that.
I would like to make some of those connections too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. and we all work together on things, you know, and so like we are planning on down the road, we're going to be doing our own haunted attraction. We're going to be doing like an adult Halloween party type thing. Like
that would be awesome. Dude, I'd drive to Rolla for that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, your idea about doing like a bonfire thing and having kids come and, you know, chill out next to the fire and hear stories.
He'd be perfect.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's things we can all do together and make an awesome, you know, just a good time for everyone, you know.
That would be fantastic. I'm down.
that's my plans for, you know.
Yeah, we actually, whenever Ryan got here, I asked him if Bradley was coming. Bradley is one of the other guys that does the show with us. Mm-hmm. He has a mud park up in Bell, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And every year in the month of October, he does what he calls a haunted trail ride. And basically, he has actors out there, and you ride your side-by-side through the woods, and you got people jumping out at you, you know. He has talked to Ryan and I both about us taking that over next year.
Well, that'd be fantastic.
Oh, it's going to be awesome, man. Like I've worked it ever since he started it. Like I'm one of the main. I was the first actor that ever worked there, and I've worked it ever since he started it. But like, there's so much potential there.
Yeah. Well, and it was
next Halloween. I've got to come up and check that out.
Yeah. The last time Bradley was here, he was going through. You know, I had my yard set up and everything, and we were out walking around, and he was like, "So where'd you buy this stuff?" I said, "I didn't buy any of this. I built it all." And he was like, "Holy shit, dude." He goes, "I need your mind doing this stuff." Because that's what I like to do. Anybody can go and buy something, you know, but I want to build it and make it my own. And
I need to get with you then, because once the big C is finally gone and we can start doing conventions again, I'd like to pick your brain to help me design the booth setup for my books when I go to conventions.
Oh, for sure.
Generally, I've got a 10 by 10 square. Sometimes it's 10 by 20, depending on how big a booth they give me. But I need a 10 by 10 square that stands out.
Yeah.
See, and that's the whole thing. Like, we can't wait for conventions to start.
Yeah.
You know, and then like we all go to conventions together. We can help each other out doing things. And that's my whole point is like, there's no reason why people shouldn't be working together on things.
Right.
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
You know, it's not us against you or him against us or any of that stuff. It's like, hey, we're all in this for the same love of horror.
And see, and I plan, I mean, I'm just going to say it down. It's going to be years in the making, of course, but I'm going to eventually start my own show, like convention wise. Start our own convention down the road. It's going to be a few years, 5-6 years probably, but I'm going to do that eventually.
Ooh, the Mid-Missouri Frightmare.
You know what I'm saying? Well, eventually we're going to get to all that. There's so much potential out there, and one thing I'm loving about, we've been doing this podcast for about 2 years now, and everything we do with our Facebook, everything is all organic things. Like, so, there's a lot of
we're not paying for anything because we can't.
Well, not only that,
trust me, I know how you feel.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of shows out there, a lot of Facebook pages and things like that who have, let's say, 300 and something thousand followers, right?
Yeah.
And but you go to look at it, and it's like they're all bought bots and things like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I tried to do my pages, my all my Instagram, my Facebook page, all of that's organic. It's built slow.
Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't spend money to get 30,000 fake followers.
Exactly.
Because it really does nothing for you.
Exactly.
I had a guy contact me not too long ago offering me to do 5-star reviews for my books for, I think it was like $100 per book. I'm like, no. He's like, why not? It's 5-star reviews. I said, it doesn't matter if they're not real. I would rather have real. I'd rather have an honest 3-star than a fake 5-star.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like for us, like our Facebook page has been growing so significantly. It's crazy because like I'm thinking right now we're at like close to 2,700 something followers.
I'm right around 2,000, coming up on 2,000 on my author page.
And it's all organic stuff. And that's what I like. Because you know what? The people who follow you that way will show up when you need them to.
Right.
So, let's say someone...
And they'll continue to follow you.
Well, and let's say someone spends 30, whatever, or spends money to get 30, 40, 50,000 followers. Okay. But my 2,000 followers might actually show up to a convention.
Right.
Well,
I doubt it.
Well, you never know that. Not right now, but down the road, possibly. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
So, the real people are going to be the ones that are there to follow you, maybe support you guys if you do a GoFundMe or something down the road. You get all these fake people. I mean, shit. If I had 300,000 followers following me, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to do a GoFundMe. Can you guys each give me $1?"
That'd be a hell of a conga line.
No kidding.
And guess what? You turn to find out, oh, well, you only actually have 3,000 followers. The rest are all bought and paid for by you. So there you go.
Actually, it's like that movie Uncle Peckerhead. You guys only made $3.
Uncle Peckerhead. I gotta watch that tonight.
You do, man. That movie was fun.
So
I've never seen that. I need to watch that.
It just came out not too long ago. It's on Amazon.
Well, I'll definitely have to watch it then.
Yeah, it's Uncle Peckerhead. It's
who's in it?
A bunch of nobodies. It's a newer movie. It's a B-grade horror. Basically, the gist of the movie is there's a small independent rock and roll band that wants to go out on tour, and their van gets repossessed, so they end up finding this old dude with this van.
Don't say no more.
And he takes them on tour,
That sounds pretty dang funny.
Well, it's a horror movie, so
there's a twist.
There is a twist to it.
Kind of like Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
God,
it's
I love
horror.
that movie.
It's horror, but it's hilarious.
Funny.
Tucker and Dale is one of my favorite.
That is a great movie.
My wife and I were watching movies. I found it on Amazon Prime. I want to say it was called American Bigfoot. Or maybe just Bigfoot. We were looking for she lets me pick cryptid movies to watch once in a while, as long as I watch stuff she wants to watch, because I watch these movies like on cryptids just as research for my own work to see what they're doing, what kind of things that they've done with the creature, so I know I'm in the right ballpark. We were looking for one that we thought would be serious, and it turned out to be one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. The acting was so horrible; it was laughable. The movie just cracked me up.
Have you seen Willow Creek?
Yes, I watched that.
That's
pretty good,
dude. Yeah, he's actually a hardcore Bigfoot
horror fan
enthusiast. Yeah, well, he's a horror fan, but he's a Bigfoot enthusiast.
That was a good movie, and the behaviors that they were using are documented behaviors. The tree knocks, the stalking.
Oh, dude, he's a big time enthusiast.
I don't think I've seen that.
Willow Creek, you got to see it.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime. If you get a chance to watch Willow Creek, watch it.
I'll have to check that out.
Willow Creek, Bobcat Goldthwait.
The thing about it is you never really go to get a look at them creatures.
Yep.
It's one of those where it relies on the atmosphere and what's happening to really amp the tension level up, and it does it very well. But you never really get a good look at the creatures. You just get shadows and movement. Yeah, and that's enough to scare the crap out of you.
I watched it. I
got to check that out.
I watched an interview with him on Joe Rogan. He was talking about it, about the movie and how he went to these towns. He actually went to these towns and talked to all of these people who have reported it. Mm-hmm. And things like that, and he actually did. In-depth research on this stuff. Wow. It's pretty cool, man. Cool. It's interesting, especially when you know the background and the work that went into making the movie. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, speaking on all this stuff, we got some questions for you that kind of basic questions. We ask to start conversations. So, paranormal ghosts. Do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever seen anything?
My wife and I, a few years back, actually this would have been about 2011, we lived in a house over on the other side of town, and it was a newer house. It was a newer subdivision. We're pretty sure that it was built where an old farm had been, but there was a new development. And she kept seeing this little girl around the house dressed in like Little House on the Prairie type clothing. Mm-hmm. And she even spoke to her one time, said mama, and when she turned to look directly at her, she vanished. Well, my wife's always been able to be more attuned to things like that. Mm-hmm. Psychically, I guess you could say, psychologically, whatever. I'm kind of a brick. I don't really notice stuff like that. I'm the idiot that goes toward the sound. I'm not the guy that runs from it.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what it is.
Right.
And I believed her, but I never saw anything until one night I was coming home late after a long shift. And as I pulled into the driveway, she stepped out from behind a little tree. And I locked the brakes up, jumped out of the car, grabbed my flashlight and my pistol, and I'm like, who the hell is in my yard? Because all I saw was this little girl wandering around the yard. I thought, why is there some little girl out here at 3 o'clock in the morning? So I'm looking around for somebody chasing this kid. I'm thinking she's running from somebody. Wasn't anybody there. Wow. And I saw her plain as day, and I was ready to go search the yard because I thought, like I said, I thought there was a little kid out here at 3 o'clock in the morning. That means somebody's either trying to abduct them or somebody's chasing
them. Yeah.
And it didn't click until, I was already going in the house that the type of clothing had been. And I went in and described her, and she goes, yeah, that's her. That's the little girl.
Wow.
And that's the only time I've really actually seen something like that. But my wife is real perceptive of stuff like that. I took her down to the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Yeah.
And we went in, and they weren't doing tours at the time. The place was booked for a wedding. But I was talking to the lady at the front desk and told her, explained who I was. And she goes, you said you were a cop? I said, yes. I took out my credentials and showed it to her. She goes, okay, well, I know you're not going to be wandering around stealing stuff. She goes, you and your wife can just wander around. Just don't go in any of the areas that are closed off for the banquet, for the wedding or stuff. Don't try to go in any of the rooms, but you can just wander around the hotel and take pictures and whatever. And she told us some of the most haunted rooms, and I took her to one of the rooms that has had some of the most sightings. And she said when she touched the door, it felt like electricity, and she doesn't want to go back. But it's
awesome.
Yeah, she's a good litmus test for that stuff. She's always been able to detect stuff like that. Where, like I said, I'm more of a brick. I don't notice it so much. Right. It's got to be right in my face for me to see it.
I'm pretty in tune to it. I always have been. I guess that's kind of one of the things that got me into horror and paranormal, all that. I like to think and know. I know in my own head and heart that there's something else out there. And I believe in certain things that now, believe it or not, are coming more mainstream, like with different dimensions and like different things like that. Hell, even the government's talking about different dimensions and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't trust the government.
You'd be kind of an idiot too.
Yeah,
these days especially.
No,
they have our best interests at heart, guys. Yeah, they really, really do.
We care about you. But no, I think it's just to go through life thinking that there's nothing else is boring as hell, and who wants to live that way?
You've got to believe in something bigger than you.
Yes,
it doesn't matter what it is. I'm not advocating one religion over another, but if you don't believe in something bigger than you, then it's kind of an empty existence. If you think you're like a candle, and when the candle goes out, that's it.
Yeah,
there's got to be more than that.
Yeah,
and more we're actually starting to interact with it as we're pushing boundaries and exploring new places that we've never been.
This is I'm glad that we're talking about this right now, so I can bring this up. I was going to bring this up earlier because I was thinking about it, but this is perfect timing. So I was thinking about this. Now, granted, there's more people on the earth, so there's more people around, but maybe because there's been a lot of like uptaking sightings and things like this, and people with the internet,
there's probably a river of ectoplasm underneath the city.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is with the internet, with all the electricity and all the satellites and all the towers, everything just feeding off energy.
There's more electromagnetic energy being released into the air than ever before.
There's just so much energy out there that now.
Also, if you look at not only like ghost sightings, but like cryptid sightings are on the rise. There've been more in the last decade, Bigfoot and other cryptid sightings than in many decades previous. Yeah. It's just I think a part of it is we're encroaching more into habitat, and another part of it is some of these creatures may be losing their fear of us. And that's not a good place to be.
This goes to our conversation about Bigfoot being an interdimensional creature.
Yeah.
Which, I believe there's different dimensions. So anything is possible.
Since Bigfoot has never actually been, scientifically proven to be there, nobody's ever brought that we know of that has ever been publicly released. Since it's never been scientifically documented, nobody can say for sure what it is. So you can't rule out anybody's theory. I personally, from my background in law enforcement, I lean toward the tangible evidence, what I can see, what I can detect, what I can feel. So I'm leaning toward just an undiscovered animal. Yeah. But I will never say, when someone says, well, maybe it comes from another dimension or aliens brought it here. Whenever somebody says out like that, I'm not going to go, you're just crazy, because the whole thing's crazy until we can prove it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And see, that's the thing. Like, no one knows. No one really knows. No. Now there was a Gigantopithecus, which closest thing to what a Bigfoot would have been.
Very similar, yeah.
And like I think we talked about this last time you were on. About like how the Native Americans all had Bigfoot.
Oh yeah,
in their things. They all have different names though.
There's dozens and dozens of different names. Every tribe, every continent except for Antarctica has had sightings. The only state in the United States that doesn't have any sightings is Hawaii. There's tons in Alaska. In fact, the area they refer to as the Alaskan Triangle has more people, experienced hunters and backpackers, going missing than any other place on the planet. Yeah. I mean, there are thousands of people who've gone missing in the Alaskan wilderness, and no trace was ever found.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying it's all Bigfoot. I'm not saying but there's tons of grizzly bears and there's dangerous animals out there. And we all know from being in the Ozarks that if an animal goes down in the woods, give it a few days for the coyotes and other scavengers to find it, and you're not going to find any pieces. Yeah. You might find a little bit of hair, maybe a bone if you're lucky, but you're not going to find much. It's going to get torn apart and scattered pretty fast. Mm-hmm. So. If a person, got killed out in the middle of the woods, it wouldn't take long for the scavengers to get rid of the evidence. However,
get rid of that.
What's killing them?
Yeah,
pig farm.
I was gonna say you get the farm. Pigs will eat up a body real quick.
Yeah, pig farm. Sinkhole.
But you got a question? You got one on your head?
No. I mean, we're just going to talk about all kinds of stuff. So now we've went down the ghost path. What about aliens?
Considering how vast the universe is, we would have to be incredibly arrogant to believe we're the only life in this universe. I mean, beyond arrogance. It's like if you walked out into the middle of the woods by yourself, couldn't find another person, and suddenly decided, I'm the only person on this planet because you can't see anybody else.
Right.
It's incredibly arrogant to think. It's like back when they were discovering other countries, like when Europeans came here, there were already people here.
Right.
So they didn't really discover it. We're like, oh, we found your living room. And we claimed it in the name of Spain. It was already here. People already knew about it.
Yeah.
But there's got to be other life in other places. But here, the thing is if there is intelligent life and they can travel across the stars, we've got to be the Arkansas of the universe. They probably lock their doors when they go by us. Roll the windows up, make sure the kids seat belted in. Don't get too close to Earth. They're
people
crazy.
Say that, and it's like people are always like, "Well, if you believe in aliens, then do you think that they've come here?" And I'm like, maybe they have. Maybe
I think they're here.
But if they have come here, why? Why would they come here? I mean, unless they want something we have.
Think about it like this.
Popeyes fried chicken.
Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Well, think about it like this.
Only place
you ever had one of those?
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic.
Is it the best thing on the freaking planet?
I wouldn't shoot somebody in line over it. It's a chicken sandwich. But people were brawling over those things when they were really popular. And I'll admit, one. Oh, if you guys got a Popeyes up there?
No.
Now, next time you're down the Springfield Way, get one. It's a fantastic chicken sandwich. Not worth robbing a store or shooting somebody over, but it's a good chicken sandwich.
Well, like I said, we will be getting to Springfield once all this bull crap is over.
I'm kind of afraid to get one.
But
it's not gonna change your life. It didn't grow my hair back. It's a pretty good chicken sandwich.
But yeah, speaking of aliens, I'm gonna steal this from Rogan again. Joe Rogan talk about it, but I kind of believe him. Everyone thinks that we are the shittiest. We're the ass end of everything, but maybe we're not. Maybe we're not the ass end of everything. Maybe we're a pretty interesting. See, if you look at it kind of like, I'm not very religious, but if you look at it from a religious view too, even with angels and humans were always more, loved and more, they always had certain things that angels didn't have, like the will, the power to
free will,
free will, all that stuff.
It's a great song, by the way.
But maybe we're not just this shitty being that's in the middle of nowhere. Because think about it: when someone comes to visit Springfield, why the hell you want to come to Springfield for? You live there. It's like, why the hell would you come to Springfield? certain people find things interesting, you know?
Well, because we live in Rolla and there's nothing here.
But see, you say that.
You have the miniature Stonehenge.
Yeah.
You're right. We do.
You say that, but people
we've got an observatory.
People still come here. You see what I'm saying? Just because where you live at, you may be there all the time and you're like, this sucks. But
Raleigh used to have one of the best hobby shops in Southwest Missouri too.
What was that?
That was years ago when back in I want to say early 90s, I would drive to Rolla from Lebanon to go to the hobby shop there. It was just up from campus up toward the main street.
Okay.
I could take you to it, but I couldn't give you the directions.
Yeah, I've only been here since, let's see, I moved down here in 2006.
Oh, I've been here for a long time, 20 plus years. But
I was going up there to buy Dungeons and Dragons stuff when you were in diapers.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. But more, what I'm saying is, who knows? Like, just because to be honest with you, I think that there may be aliens among us.
Could be.
I don't believe in lizard people, but that live underneath the ground. But I do believe that there may be other beings from other planets here. Other dimensions. See, I'm a dimension guy though, so it's different for me because
it's all dimensional with him.
Well, I'm serious. That's the way it is.
You're saying he has dementia?
Yes. Yeah. I'm a dimensional guy.
Putting the dementia in dimensional.
What were we talking about? No, but yeah.
Take your meds.
Plastic bag. No, but people who necessarily believe that just their space and that's all there is a universe or whatever. I believe that there's multiple freaking dimensions, them different universes. So like for every universe, there's an endless universe. Mm-hmm. It just keeps on going and going.
Multiverse.
The multiverse theory.
Yeah. So it's just it's interesting to me, and I say, why the hell not? I mean, if you're going to just be that person who's like, nope, that's not real. Nope, that's not real. Nope.
If we can figure out how to travel the multiverse, I want to go to the universe where I was born rich, like Bill Gates.
Yeah, and just not an asshole. No, but
yeah. I'm going to trade places with that guy.
I just want his money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. He can go. But yeah, no, I feel you on that one. I just as far as aliens go, man, I've seen some things in my life. I've seen some things that I can't really explain. But some things can be explained. Certain lights you see, tests, military tests, things like that.
Hell, I have problems explaining this podcast sometimes.
No, you don't. People love us. They love us. It's pretty. I mean, the title is pretty
prominent there.
It explains it all right there. But yeah, if there is aliens, I just know that I haven't been probed. Not yet, anyway. I've been begging.
The night is young.
You have to make an appointment for that.
Yeah. Sir, due to COVID, we're not probing this year.
We're going to have tents set up.
The only probe you're going to get is that COVID swab that goes to the back of your skull.
I told him I'm only doing rectal.
Yeah, but it's a much farther distance to the back of your sinuses from that way.
Did I say 2? Better make it 3.
Come on, embrace yourself.
This is where our podcast always goes. Someone's anal swabbing. But no, I mean honestly though, I like making connections like this. Anal swabbing wise.
After anal swabbing, that's the connection he wants to make.
That's quite the segue.
That's how we do it. That's how we do it.
Speaking of rectal probes, it's nice to meet you.
I tell you what, nothing better than a great connection than the anal swab. You know what I'm saying? How'd you guys?
You can't laugh about that. What can you laugh about?
You're always going to remember how we met. Oh, that's the guy who talked to me about anal swabbing.
He's going to hit the M button and he's going to look at his wife and be like, what the fuck did I just get into?
Honey, those weren't Mike and Ike's you gave me, were they?
Is this the Make-A-Wish thing? No, but see, this is what I'm saying. When when we get together with people and stuff like this, it just ends up being a good conversation that we can all laugh about.
Hell yeah.
Those are the best.
Yeah, you forget about all the drama and the stupid stuff going on in the world.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll be thinking about this.
I'm like, I wonder if DA's ever going to talk to us again. But, we say that, but
She'll send me a message after we get done. Can you cut out the middle half hour of that show?
Matter of fact, can you guys just delete that and my number? We say
Lord.
that, but when we talk to those people from UK, we talk.
Oh my God, they were worse than we were.
We talked to them for 4 hours.
That's awesome.
And they were awesome, and it was cool because we had what 1, 2, 3. We have 4 people. Four people from the UK, two directors and 2 actors.
Awesome.
And you should check out their movie actually called Hosts.
Yeah,
you should check it out.
HOSTS.
That sounds familiar.
It just came out.
I heard something about that.
It's really good.
Yeah.
But we talked to them.
Is it streaming or is it still in theaters?
No, I mean, I think you can get to it on Amazon.
I think so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I might have to check that out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. But like we talked to them, and the conversation just kept going and going, and it's probably like for them it was what 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And they're still talking. I'm like, man, I'm sorry, guys. I'm like, I know it's late over there. We're probably like, oh no, it's all good. We're having a blast, And it's we try to make people feel comfortable, and then we make them feel uncomfortable halfway through the conversation. We sucker you in, and then
comes the anal probe.
Yeah. I don't know that we talked about anal probes with them.
No, but I did say that.
That was so funny. So one of the actors that was on that show with us, her name was Samantha Loxley. And there's a scene in the movie where basically this movie, it's a possession film. Mm-hmm. And she's like over the top of this other woman's head. And she's got like this goo, like this clear, really thick saliva coming out of her mouth, dripping onto this woman's head. Ryan makes a comment of, yeah, I thought that was something else coming out of your mouth. Just like, oh.
No, to be fair.
Happy ending cost extra.
Yeah, no shit.
To be fair, they were all talking about it, like stuff like they were talking about how they made it look like this and look and all this stuff. And then I have no filter, so it just pulls right out of my mouth. Yeah. And they all died laughing, though, so that was the good thing about it. And they still wanted to come on the show again. So
it was funny because I kept looking at her face thinking, oh, God, she's going to come unglued.
Does that movie come up when you search 2 Girls, 1 Cup?
No. Yeah. Yes. Ugh. Ugh.
Sorry.
I had that out of my mind for a minute, and
You're
now it's
welcome.
back. Oh, yes.
Oh, God.
Yes.
All right. Meanwhile,
this is where our show goes every time.
Yeah.
But no, just so we can segue
just when you think it can't get any worse, wait, we've hit another rock layer. Let's dig a little deeper.
There's more. But no, so we talked about the ghosts and everything. Okay, what about demons?
I believe demons are real. I mean, every religion, all the way back to Zoroastrianism, talks about creatures
demons,
of power. They always talk about, and it may not necessarily call them the same thing, but they're always described the same way. And in a lot of terms, they use words that are very similar to demon, like daemon or deva. Mm-hmm. So I believe these are powerful, evil creatures that do exist. And they may be extra dimensional. They may be just something from our own universe that's deep and dark and things we don't understand. But I believe they're there.
Yeah, see, and that's my thing. When it comes to demons and things like that, and angels or whatever you want to say, I think that they do come from a different, maybe the upper levels of dimensions are a little bit better off than the bottom levels of dimensions. And things come, I think, mainly what everything lives and breathes and feeds off of is energy. Because the energy can never be created nor destroyed like that, So it's always it's there, and I think that everything feeds off of that. No matter where it's from, no matter what dimension or what planet, I think everything feeds off of that. And speaking of ghosts, bringing that back into this little equation here, we believe we talked about it enough, that things hold energy. Objects, places, land, whatever it may be, it can hold that energy. And I think that other things feed off of it. That's the whole concept of, whenever your flashlight dies during something or your batteries go dead, it's, things like that.
Are you guys familiar with the term Uncanny Valley?
Yes.
My son and I were just having a conversation about that. It's something primitive in our brain that makes us fear things that look almost human, not quite. That's why we, like the Slender Man scene in the background inspires such a horrified feeling in people. It's the Uncanny Valley, which was a chart, a description on a chart of where your psyche would change when certain things were seen. Like a pile of clothes in a chair in your bedroom is when the light on is a pile of clothes. But you flip the light off, it looks vaguely human, and you experience that fear. I think the Uncanny Valley plays a part in all of our lives, and I think that's why horror is such a universal concept, because we fear what's almost human but not quite.
Yeah
Things that might have preyed on us at one time.
That's cool, man. That's pretty damn deep there.
Well, what you just said, things that preyed us on one time. That's why, you're not afraid of like I said, you're not afraid of being alone in the dark. You're afraid of not being alone in the dark.
Right. You're afraid of what you see, what's there that you can't see.
And they done a test like this too. Like they did, I can't remember the name of it, but it was with the laboratory mice. And what they would do is they would shock the feet of these mice every time they would feed them a certain thing. You know what I mean? Okay. So every time they would feed them this, they would put this little thing that would shock the bottom of their feet, right? Well, the offspring of these mice, they would go to feed them the same thing, not shock them, but they would still get that shock.
Oh, I got you.
So basically, let's say that
a genetic memory.
Yeah, that's why you learn. I mean, that's where you learn how to do shit. When you're born, you learn that you have. I mean, you breathe through your.
Right.
You breathe. You learn how to breathe. You already know certain things are there. But what he was saying, people are scared of certain things because that's what fucking was killing you back in the day. You weren't afraid of the dark because it's dark outside. You're afraid of the dark because you can't see that fucking lion getting ready to come in here and kill your family.
Are you guys familiar with the book Them and Us by Danny Vendramini?
I do know. I have not read the book, but I have heard about the book through podcasts.
He basically took the old fossil records of not Cro-Magnon man, Neanderthal man, and how the scientists of the day, when they first discovered Neanderthal back in the 1800s, made it look almost human. Well, what he did is he did more of a forensic reconstruction from the skeletons, and what he came up with was horrifying. It very much fit the modern description of a Bigfoot. It was bigger than us. It had bigger eye sockets because it hunted at night. And his theory is that not only were they preying on humans, but we fought a war for survival against them for generations.
Oh, well, okay. Damn it. I'm trying to think about that. There's a war. There's a battle of Bigfoot. What was it? Oh man, there was a war between Bigfoot and
the Dogmen.
I think yes, the dog soldiers, Dogmen. There's a name of it though. I just read about this, and then I listened to a podcast about it about a month ago. So it's leaving my head. But anyway, there was a battle between these Dogmen.
Okay.
I can't remember what was the native. Do you remember what Indians it was or Native Americans it was? There was a certain group. They were bigger.
I can't think off the top of my head. I want to say it was somewhere down in Georgia.
Yes. Yeah.
Near Florida. I remember reading about it, but it's been a while.
But there was these Native Americans were bigger, and they fought the Bigfoot. Huh. And they were called dog soldiers and dog men. And there was a big battle between them. It's a really cool story. If you got time, I know you're not huge into Bigfoot, so go ahead. I know you're.
Hopefully, Bigfoot's not huge into me either.
I'm sure DA knows. There's actually a whole romantic novel set about Bigfoot.
There's a whole subgenre on it.
Yes.
People actually produce novels about that.
What do they call them fucking weird people that dress up in fucking
Furries?
Furries, yeah.
No, this is straight up. These novels are straight up about women falling in love with Bigfoot.
And there's a similar one for dinosaurs as well.
Wow, I did not know that one.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
You can find some really weird shit on Amazon.
Some of that T-Rection.
Yeah, pretty much.
I know you got short arms, but
well, yeah, I mean, he can't do it himself. Somebody's got to take care of him.
That's right. Poor guy.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to get too deep into dinosaurs here.
Especially dinosaur loving.
Yeah. Well, supposedly T-Rex wasn't really even that big of a predator. He was actually a scavenger from some things I was reading. That's why his arms were like that. Like he ate what was left and would, that's what I heard. I don't know. Some people believe dinosaurs didn't even exist, so I don't even know.
Yeah. Those are the same people that think the earth is flat.
Good
you
point.
Never know. Well, check this out. I was listening to this. Oh, God. I was listening to this other podcast, and they were talking about how maybe it is whatever you believe it is. If you believe you're living on a flat earth, then maybe you are living on a flat earth. If you believe you live on a round earth, then you're living on a round earth. It's just whatever you think it is. Which kind of is like
bullshit.
Not really. And I told JT. I told
you
JT
make your own reality.
Yeah, basically. I tell JT this because he's a bit, he's a science. I believe in
more
science.
Into the science of stuff.
I believe in science. I'm like, okay, have you ever personally seen a planet or personally seen that the Earth is round?
Well,
no.
Well,
no, you haven't.
So I look at the moon.
Uh-huh.
And the moon's not up there flipping in the sky like a quarter.
It's got a point.
It's just there. Question. I don't believe.
Don't get me into the Santos guy.
I don't believe in.
He made me listen to this podcast one time about this guy. His name was something Santos. And I tell you what, I was about a half hour into this podcast, and I was so mad I almost drove my car off a cliff. This guy, they were talking about, I've always been big into space and planets and different stuff ever since I was a kid. And this guy was talking about how far away is the sun? And they're like, oh, well, it's like, 1 million miles away or whatever.
A number someone made up.
And so this guy is like, no, the sun is only about 40,000 miles away or 40 miles away or something stupid. I was like, what the fuck? What? And then he was all into like, the stars aren't really there. They're just holes poked in a sheet like thing. And
so whatever collected this poked the holes in the lid of the jar.
I'm like, oh, God.
It's funny. I like fucking with JT more than anything because I don't really give a shit either way.
if the sun was that close, we'd all look like that Popeyes fried chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Well, the way I look at it is like
the aliens will be eating us, saying, "Damn, that's some good ass Popeyes."
My thing is what I tell people who argue about, because there's people who argue about this shit all the time. I'm like, listen, whether the Earth is round or flat, nothing in your life's going to change. You're still going to go to work. You're still going to do everything you're doing.
Everything in my life would change.
Probably because you're one of those freaking science guys. And nothing. You're like, what is wrong with me?
It's all been a lie.
Well, it's just I like messing with JT all the time about that shit. Because for me, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I just like messing with. When I see people, it's like the same thing with like Chevy and Ford guys. Granted, I grew up. I'm a Chevy.
Yeah,
dude.
This is coming from a guy that drives a Jeep.
Exactly. Well, you're getting my point. I don't really give a shit either way, but if I find out you're a hardcore Ford guy, I'm going to talk as much shit as I can about Ford. So.
I'm the guy that wants it to start and take me where I'm going.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't care, but
if that's a Ford, a Dodge, a Chevy, a Daihatsu, I don't care what it is, as long as it gets me from point A to point B reliably.
I got to tell you, I've been in the automotive business for over 30 years. They're all pieces of crap.
Now they are.
Every one of them.
Planned obsolescence. They are designed to break.
Yeah. Unless it's a Toyota. You get you a nice 80s Toyota, that son of a bitch will run for fucking ever. Ain't no joke. My buddy drove his, so 600,000 miles on it. Now he pulled in the driveway one day, and it fucking, he's like, all right, good job.
Well, goddamn, if you drove me for 600,000 miles, I'd do the same thing.
Oh, I'll put 600,000 miles on you, all right.
I bet you would. Fucking 3 inches at a time.
See, now you're complimenting me, huh?
Oh God,
flattery will get you everywhere.
Turn.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so
let's
talk about this. Since you write books about cryptids and things like that, have you ever seen a cryptid or anything that you thought may have been?
I've had a couple of odd encounters where I didn't know what it was, never actually saw something, but led me to believe it wasn't something I was used to. Did I tell you guys my deer hunting story?
I don't think so.
Not that I can remember. Mm-mm.
This was 91, somewhere around there. I was in my early 20s, shortly before I met my wife, and my uncle owned a bunch of land right next to a bunch of conservation land up near. Do you know where Eldridge, Missouri is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He lived out on the sticks out by Eldridge, and he had 160 acres. It was right up against about 5,000 acres of conservation land, and there was never anybody out on his land that he didn't let. And he was pretty good about keeping it that way. I went out, set up in a deer stand, and I'd already checked in with him. I was going to be the only one hunting out there that day, and I get set up, and I'm out there well before sunup, and it's not too terribly long after the sunrise. I'm hearing something move, and I'm like, okay, got something coming in, so I'm just waiting. Pretty soon, I've got a decent size, about a 10-point buck. He was a good mid-sized buck. Comes out, and he's not standing ideal, so I'm just waiting. And I was hunting at the time with a British 303, so I know if I get a good broadside shot, he's not going far. So I wait, and I'm patient, and it pays off. He turns almost perfect broadside, and he was only about 75 yards out, which was an easy shot with that rifle. I bring it up, and I hit him, and he drops immediately. And he's down for a couple seconds, and he wobbles up, and he takes off. Well, I know, I just, because of how long he was down, I said, I know I've got it.
He froze.
Oh.
So the deer stand. Head over there.
Okay, you're back.
I think you're back.
Hear me? You guys hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay, good. Kind of got a fuzzy there for a second.
Yeah, you froze up a little bit.
So I climbed down out of the deer stand, and I go over to where the deer fell. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term lung butter. Uh-huh. It's lung material. I saw lung butter on the ground. I knew I got him. And at this point, I know he's not going far. And I've got a thick blood trail to follow. So he heads off into the bushes, and he goes down about 30 yards from where I'm at, and then goes off into the trees and then drops down into a ravine. And it was a pretty decent little drop. I wasn't gonna just jump down because I probably would have broke my legs. So I had to backtrack about a quarter of a mile to get down into this ravine without killing myself and come back to the point. And I knew I was in the right point because I'd pushed branches to the side, so I'd know exactly where I came down. So I find where he hit the ground, pick up the blood trail again, and he doesn't go but about another 10 yards till I find the place where he fell and bled out. There was a tremendous amount of blood there. There's no way the deer got up, but it was gone. There were no drag marks. The woods were dead silent. And when I say dead silent, I mean dead silent. No footprints, no drag marks, no additional blood drops. It was like something swooped down, picked it up, and it was just gone. Wow. And I spiraled outward from that spot for a good 100 yards in every direction that I could get and never picked up another blood trail. So something picked it up and carried it. Coyotes would have tore into it on the spot. Even a mountain lion would have had to drag it because this was a good-sized buck. It was no normal animal.
Oh, hell no.
It had to be something that picked it up.
I'm a pretty strong dude, and I've drugged deer out of the woods before, and trust me, it takes a while. Plus, to get it out of the ravine like that, I mean,
I never found a trace of it.
That's crazy.
And another time in that same deer stand, I hunted that land a lot. I was out there one night and waiting to get set up, and it's about an hour and a half yet before the sun comes up, and the woods are alive. I can hear birds waking up, and in the distance I can hear turkey, and the woods are kind of alive. Well, I'm sitting there trying to be as quiet as I can. I'm sipping coffee out of my thermos, and I hear a squirrel bark behind me about 100 yards. And then everything just went dead silent. I mean, absolutely hear my heart beat in my chest, dead silent. And I just had the distinct feeling that I needed to get the hell out of there. Yeah. And I looked around, I didn't see anything. Nothing ever came close, but I scurried down out of that tree stand, got back to my truck, got the hell out of there. And it was one of the most eerie feelings I've ever had in the woods.
Wow.
I mean, I've had very few times that I've ever heard the woods go dead quiet, and that's terrifying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I don't think I've ever seen a cryptid, so to speak, or anything. Now, I tell you, my wife, like, we both work for FedEx, so, like, we would deliver all over the country. I deliver in some freaking way out in the middle of nowhere places, And she said she got stuck one time at the bottom of she was way out in the middle of nowhere, down around close to Potosi, out in the middle of nowhere in the sticks, And she's down in this ravine, and so she has no cell phone service, so she got to walk up top of the road to get service, which is always dangerous, especially out in them areas. You got mountain lions, things like that, bear possibly. But she said she was walking, and she walked up, called, our people. They come and they'll get us. So she said she walked back down to get into the van, to sit in the van, just so she wasn't outside, But when she got down to the van, she said she heard this scream. Like, it was like a growlish scream. Like, shit, I've never heard anything like that in my life before, ever.
Wow.
And she's like, I don't know what it was. She's like, I know bobcats can sound pretty crazy. I mean, if you know anything about animals that are in the Ozarks, bobcats can make some crazy-ass sounds.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they're fighting, So could have been possibly a bobcat maybe, but she said it was so loud that even the cattle that were out there, because it was a big open field, cattle out there were like took off running.
Wow.
That's a big predator then.
Yeah.
Cattle don't normally run from a bobcat. They'll circle up around the calves, but they won't generally run from a bobcat because it's not big enough to take one of them down.
See, mountain lions have a pretty, or cougars, I mean, whatever you want to call them, they have a pretty distinctive sound. She said this was loud, though. Like, loud. And it echoed. Crazy. And I was like, holy shit, dude. That'd be crazy.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I can tell you this, and this is a true story. It happened to me a long, long time ago. We were camping. We camped out all the fucking time. We camped out for weeks on end. So we had this little spot we had built up where we camped all the time. We even put like strings around it, with the cans, the rocks in it, the rattle, all that stuff. We had it all set up for us. We had it. We built it. Now, granted, we were all probably 12 to 14, somewhere in there. We all ranged age. We built this platform up in the tree, and we all had to take turns up there with 22, watching out for everybody, Well, like, one of our buddies was up there, and he's all freaking out. He's like screaming, and he's like, help, help. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? So we take off running over there, and he's like, something was scratching at the tree. Something was scratching, trying to get at the tree. And I'm like, huh? So we get the flashlights, and we're like looking around the tree, and there were some claw marks on the tree. I don't know what the fuck this was. This really happened. I could bring on 3 other guys who've seen the same thing.
How high were the claw marks?
I'd say about chest high. For about a 6 foot tall person. So I'd say about 5.5 foot up. 5.5 foot up. Well, this is what the really bad part is. This is a crazy thing anyway. So we heard something in the woods. We heard something moving. Something bigger. So I was like, what the fuck is that? So, we're, like I said, 12 to 13, 14 years old. We hit the flashlights. We're all looking around. There's a tree about yay big around, about that big around. I look at it, I blow past it, and I'm like, stop. And I go back to that tree. And about 4 foot high, 4.5 foot high, and I swear I wasn't drunk, I don't drink, I've done that stuff. There were hands wrapped around the tree. Swear to you. Hands wrapped around the tree.
Describe them.
Like long, dark fingers. Like that long. Like literally wrapped around a tree about this round. Wrapped around it like this.
Okay,
Almost.
would you say like would they and bear with me here? Would they roughly human size but look more like a raccoon's hands?
Identical. That's good.
That's a dog man.
I was just getting ready. I swear on my life, I was just getting ready to say a raccoon. Picture that, but human size.
That's a dog man.
And
that's how numerous people have described the hands of a dog man.
Check this out. Not only did I see the hands, I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm looking. I see 2 eyes on either side of the tree. And I promise you, I'm looking at you right now dead in the face that I'm not lying to you, dude.
Wow.
That's a true story. And I was like, dude, look at that. And as soon as I said that, like everyone was like, what? Because they were all looking around. They turned around and looked at me, and it was gone. You heard it.
Yeah, they're quick.
Out through the leaves. True story. And I swear, before you said anything, I was getting ready to say, picture a raccoon, but big, but human size.
That's how a lot of people that have had up close encounters with dogmen have described their hands as human-like, but built more like a raccoon. Like they were the dimensions weren't correct. They were claws, but they still had the hand like a.
That's crazy, dude.
I did not know that at all.
If you look up the Beast of LBL or the Beast of the Land Between the Lakes, look up the attacks that the Beast of LBL is accredited with. Supposedly back, and they allegedly the story was buried, but the sources that I've checked into, one of them was a retired cop that was there. Apparently Dogman murdered a family of 4 in that campground, and they bulldozed the campground right after that and shut it down.
Dude, that's so crazy, man.
The Dogmen are very dangerous.
See, because I swear to you, dude, that's the
100%
100% freaking truth, man. But that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. See, I love these conversations.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know, so we're getting brought to the end of this one, but I will tell you, you know, we're going to be having probably a lot of future conversations with you.
Oh, heck yeah. Anytime.
We'll be getting together once all this crap passes over. And
we're going to make a trip to Springfield. We're going to have you show us some creepiness down there.
We'll be doing some stuff together down there, definitely.
There's an old campground about 35 minutes from here that supposedly back in the late 90s, someone went missing from, and the Army Corps of Engineers shut it down. And it is one of the creepier places you can go. I've gone down there at night, and it's pretty creepy. I have to take you guys down there. It's called the Joe Bald Recreation Area.
Yeah, I promise you, and we'll be probably do a couple podcasts for them anyway.
That's not one of those things where, like, you know, if I took you camping and you woke up with a sore ass, would you tell anybody?
If you're going to get probed, it's probably going to be from him.
Yeah, you're probably
He's the probing guy.
It's probing time. But no, we definitely will be, you know, of course, getting back in touch. It's always fun talking to you. And once all this stuff gets over with, we're going to be doing a lot of collaborating things like, you know, JT can help you out with your book deals thing and setting that up. You
know, one good possibility for the for doing a podcast, if you wanted to film something live, is someplace I've always wanted to go. Where that attack happened at Land Between the Lakes is not that far from here.
Really?
It's about a 4.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
We could film, if we could find that abandoned, because they say it's still there. You can still find it. If we could find that abandoned campground and film down there, I would be totally down for going down there.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
we drove through Land Between the Lakes, and we drove through it in the middle of the night. We didn't stop, but we drove through that area, and it is one of the creepiest places to drive through at night that I've ever driven through.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to go back so bad.
Where's it at? It's right on the Kentucky-Tennessee border, just across the line. From Missouri, it's not that far. Right.
From right where you guys are at, you can probably go straight across. But look up the Beast of LBL or the Beast of Land Between the Lakes, and it'll show you right where it's at.
Nice.
Yeah, dude, that's all. Yeah, see, we're definitely gonna be setting some things up. You know, we keep in contact with you pretty much, so we'll be setting some things up and having some more conversations and doing some cool video things. As long as you don't care about being on video, we like to.
I don't mind a bit.
We're gonna be doing videos and we're gonna be doing all kinds of cool shit. So. Sounds like a plan to me.
Hell yeah, man.
Well, right on. Hey, DA, it was awesome talking to you.
It's always a pleasure as usual, man.
We should do a show just on dogmen.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we can set that
definitely.
up. Well, after this, we'll shoot some emails back and forth, and we'll set up a weekend to do it.
Yeah.
But why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and all that good stuff?
You can check out all my books at www.daroberts.net. All of my books are currently available from Amazon. I'd list all the books, but there's like 19 of them, so it would take me a minute. But I've got multiple series out. I write sci-fi and primarily horror. But if you like cryptid horror or zombies, check out my work at www.daroberts.net.
Awesome,
Definitely.
man. Awesome, brother. All right, guys, that's it for us tonight. We love you guys. And as always, until next time,
Keep it creepy.
yeah, that's awesome, man.